Shocking dog battle in the sky, a figure wearing a golden robe, who looked like a human emperor, descended from the sky. He spoke coldly and looked down at the earth. This is a green-haired man with majestic appearance, green hair shawl, face as sharp as a knife, sword-shaped eyebrows at the temples, extremely sharp and unfathomable eyes, slowly landing in front of Redis and the others. Waves of unconcealable coercion emanated from the green-haired man. Wherever he went, all the disciples around him separated in panic and made way for a broad road. "Brother! Mr. Paltrow!" Seeing this green-haired man, Redis and others immediately shouted, their faces full of surprise, while Leonardo and others behind Jason were both excited. His fists were clenched, his eyes were cold, and his eyes were full of hatred. This man was none other than Redis' eldest brother, Paltero, the core disciple of the Elixir Master Tower, an 8th-level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master, and a 7th-level Intermediate Elixir Emperor Master. "Brother, this kid is Jason. He came here early in the morning and yelled, disrespected you, and injured Philclaus and the others. Brother, you must avenge everyone." Redis, who was still extremely frightened before, seemed to be a different person now. His eyes were full of resentment when he looked at Jason, and his mouth was arrogant. Paltero did not speak, and looked at Felk on the ground. The three Los people waved their right hands. Boom! Countless golden spiritual elements condensed in the air, forming a pair of giant elemental hands, and sucked the three Philclaus people out of the rock, who were covered in blood and moaning constantly. Then he moved to the men behind him. "You guys greet the three of them." Paltrow said indifferently, his face was full of pride, and his eyes turned to Jason. His eyes were like an eagle looking at an ant in the sky, extremely proud. Seeing the three Philclaus being rescued by the other party, Jason showed no expression on his face and just said calmly, "Are you Paltero? The eldest brother of Redis? The person who injured Leonardo and the others?" "Yes, it's me." "Are you the Jason who didn't know where to hide a few days ago?" "Huh, you are so brave. You dare to hurt my men while I am away, and you still utter arrogant words. You are a newcomer, a disciple who has just joined the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, and you are so arrogant. I want to see what you have. How dare you be so arrogant?" Paltrow stood with his hands behind his back, his face cold and arrogant, showing strong self-confidence. "What ability do you have?" Jason smiled, a sneer, "You hurt my friends and insulted my disciples. I originally wanted to put a dog's head on your neck, but now I have changed my mind. It is not easy to watch you practice. This way, well, I won't embarrass you. For the sake of your core disciples and the unity of my Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, you kneel here now, kowtow 10 times to my friends and disciples, and beg their forgiveness. I can consider keeping yours, but if you are stubborn, don't blame me for being rude." Boom! As soon as Jason said these words, all the disciples present were shocked and their faces were full of shock. What? This Jason was so bold that he actually asked Paltrow to kneel here and kowtow to beg for mercy. How could he, a newcomer, dare to say such big things? You must know that Paltero is not a 7th-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Master like Philclaus, Bachor, or Nanartaluo, but an 8th-level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master, the core disciple of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. So bold, so arrogant. He actually said such words to Paltero. This Jason is a 7th-level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master. Even if he defeated Philclaus and the others before, he would not be stupid enough to do so. Are you going to fight against an 8th-level Emperor Spiritual Master? Now we have a good show. Although Jason has shown himself to be strong before, I don't believe that Jason can defeat Paltrow. You must know that Paltrow is an 8th-level Emperor Spiritual Master. Between the 1st level and the Emperor level, there is more than one level can describe. It seems that the two sides can't let it go now. I thought that Jason would be more low-key when Paltrow appeared, but I didn't expect that he would become even more arrogant. Good boy, I kind of admire him. Look, Paltero is angry. Many people saw Jason's words asking Paltrow to kneel down and kowtow, and they knew that the two could not deal with the aftermath. It doesn't matter whether there is any grudge between the two parties, even the best-tempered person cannot tolerate such words. As soon as Paltrow Island appeared, Jason did not give in. Between the two sides were already in a tit-for-tat confrontation, which immediately triggered a strong murderous intention. Ha ha, let me kneel down, kowtow, and admit my mistake? Okay, you kid really has the courage. Let me tell you the truth, no one in this world can make me kneel down. You, a little newcomer, dare to say such things to me. Who gave you the courage? You have already, it completely angered me. Very good. I will make you regret what you said before. I will let you know how miserable the consequences of offending me will be. Paltrow looked up to the sky and screamed, with endless anger in his tone. His originally expressionless face was now extremely ferocious, with boundless anger in his eyes. Countless golden spiritual elements all around him, Paltrow's golden robe fluttered like a dragon riding the wind. He took action boldly. As soon as the core disciple took action, the situation changed color, and streaks of golden spiritual power quickly condensed in the air. The concussion exploded and formed a huge golden palm, which hit Jason. The spiritual element materialized and formed elemental hand seals. This is an attack method only available to 8th level Emperor spiritual masters. Boom! Paltrow hit this blow, and almost everyone in the surrounding streets fell to the ground. Paltrow showed his true strength, strong. Incredibly strong. Wherever the golden element handprint goes, concentric circles appear with itself as the center, like pebbles splashed into water, spreading outward like ripples. The surrounding disciples suspended in the air were all ejected directly when they came into contact with this ripple. At this moment, Paltrow was like an undefeated demon god, standing on the spot, taking the elemental handprints, and the terrifying golden spiritual power flowed, filling the sky and the earth, making it vast. Well done! Jason shouted to the sky, standing firm in the face of Paltrow's attack. His long black hair was flying under the violent spiritual power, and his eyes lit up like stars in the night sky. The infinite spiritual power of the 5 elements swept down, as if forming a clear 5-color torrent, pouring in from the top of his head. The black épée in his hand instantly released a huge brilliance, like a cannonball being discharged. It hit the giant golden element hand. Boom! The world collapsed, and a bright light lit up in this world, swallowing Jason whole. The terrifying spiritual elements formed into shocking storms and dispersed, destroying everything. A majestic force was released from the center of the explosion like a volcanic eruption. Wherever it went, the mountains shook and the entire street burst into pieces. At this moment, a huge roar sounded like a thunderbolt from the blue, resounding throughout the elixir city, startling everyone. Feeling this terrifying power, looking at the collapsed streets, everyone around them had horrified faces. They stayed away from each other for fear of being involved in the battle. At the same time, they swallowed hard. I am afraid that any 7th level high-level Imperial spiritual master will not be able to accept such a terrorist attack. Even if he does not die, he will still be seriously injured, right? Smoke and dust slowly rose from the explosion, and there was no sound in the dust. The people inside seemed to have turned into dust under Paltrow's terrifying blow. Master! Jason! Not far away, Rongxing and others worried and looked anxiously at the center of the explosion. Not good. In the distance, a few guardians who were hiding there, and whose spiritual consciousness had been paying attention here, also shouted in anger at this moment, and appeared above everyone's heads like lightning. They were afraid that something might happen to Jason, and they just wanted to rush down, but they heard a clear sound. The sound rang out in the smoke. As a core disciple and an 8th level Emperor spiritual master, is it possible that your ability to spread dust is just this? Everyone was stunned. The whole street was quiet, and countless eyes were focused on it. Looking there, Paltero's brows couldn't help but frown slightly. The smoke slowly faded, and a black épée stuck in the ground first appeared in full view of the public. Behind the black épée, a black-haired young man wearing a cyan robe was patting his face with an indifferent expression. The corner of his clothes seemed to be sweeping away the trace of soot. Everyone couldn't help but sucked in a breath of cold air. Normally, the 7th-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Master would have been killed by the terrifying attack earlier, but looking at Jason, he didn't seem to care, and he didn't appear to be injured at all. How strong is this guy's body? Paltero's eyes were cold, and a sneer could not help but form at the corner of his mouth. Interesting. Boom. He raised his hand suddenly, and the powerful golden spiritual power was wantonly ready to take action again. On the other side, Jason also suddenly drew out the black heavy sword, and the spiritual power in his body was running wildly, preparing to take action. Stop. A roar rang out, and the figures that appeared like lightning suddenly inserted themselves between the two of them, shouting loudly. This is the Elixir City, what's wrong with fighting here? Could it be that the two of them you can't even try to demolish the Elixir City? These people are all protectors of the Elixir City, 8th-level Emperor Spiritual Masters, and the terrifying pressure released is almost suffocating. Jason turned around and looked around. Because of the violent explosion caused by the fight between the two, the entire street was in a mess, the ground was cracked, and the surrounding houses were damaged to varying degrees. Boy, it's not convenient to do anything here. I'll be waiting for you on the Challenge Center stage. Come over if you feel like it. Paltero sneered, his whole body suddenly lifted up, and he shot electricity towards the Nanching Challenge Center. That's what I meant. Jason also said coldly, rising into the sky with a whoosh, and flew towards the center of the challenge. Wow. Everyone around them was shocked and rushed towards the center of the challenge. They didn't want to miss this shocking battle. For a moment, the disciples of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower all over the sky were like locusts passing by, swarming towards the center. Challenge Center. Just when Jason and Paltero were shooting towards the Challenge Center in the south city of Panacea City, Elder Sevlin was sitting in a room on the upper level of Panacea Tower, and below him, Master Benjamin Master What was also sitting there. The structure of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower is extremely unique. It has been standing here since the beginning of its establishment. No one knows how it was built. In the Elixir Master Tower, each floor is like an independent space, and nothing from the outside world can affect it. Just like in the Elixir Science Duel on the second floor, no matter how big the explosion is due to the preparation, it is only if it spreads in one room, it will not spread to other rooms, let alone affect other floors. Therefore, similarly, everything that happens in the outside world cannot be transmitted to the Elixir Medicine Master Tower. Great Elder Kevlin, I heard that Jason had come out of the secret trial realm yesterday, and had been promoted to the 7th level of the Imperial Spiritual Master. As soon as he came out, he had an incident with Byrne and the others in front of the Rongshim dormitory. The conflict actually resulted in the defeat of a group of people from Byrne. Now that Jason is back, we should be able to take action, right? You want to test his talent and strength. Yesterday, he was able to defeat Byrne, a 7th-level high-level Imperial Spirit Master, yesterday. Master and 6 7th-level Intermediate Imperial Spiritual Masters were defeated. I think such an answer is not bad, right? In the room, Master Benjamin spoke excitedly. Yes, Elder Kevlin. Before Jason entered the trial realm, he was only a 6th-level high-level spiritual master. Now in less than a month, he has been promoted to a 7th-level low-level spiritual master. If you defeat such a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master, his potential is immeasurable. On the side, Master What also nodded, and said with admiration, it is the most difficult for spiritual masters to advance in multiple disciplines, but I didn't expect that Jason was promoted within just 1 month after receiving the Flame Extreme Golden Earth technique. With his attainments in medicine, as long as he studies hard, it is not impossible to be promoted to the 7th level low-level elixir master in a few days. Once he is promoted to the 7th level low-level elixir master, he will be qualified to become the core of the tower. Disciple, I think that elder, you asked for the Yenji Golden Earth secret in advance for him, and no one else will make a fuss about it. I didn't expect that this boy would be so outstanding and make such a big difference. Beyond my expectations. In front of the room, Elder Sevlin also had a smile on his face. He had received a lot of pressure in the tower for asking Jason for the Flame G Golden Earth secret, but Jason's performance was he was not disappointed. But what Sevlin didn't know was that although the Yenji Golden Earth technique allowed Jason to understand a lot about the laws of elements, Jason's promotion had little to do with the Yenji Golden Earth art. In this case, Elder Sevlin, can we intervene in the conflict between their group and Paltrow? Benjamin said, well, Paltrow went too far. He treated Lai that day. When Leonardo and the others took action, their methods were so ruthless. If someone hadn't stopped him, Melting Saint would have almost died in his hands. Moreover, not only did he beat Leonardo and the others to death, but he also inflicted wounds inside their bodies. There was an extremely strong spiritual power left, which was so vicious that it wanted to destroy the futures of the three of them. There's no rush now. Sevlin shook his head and said, I also want to see how Jason will react next. On the surface, the situation on the mainland seems to be calm, but in fact, there are undercurrents, and the comfortable days are about to go. There is no return, and now there is an urgent need for more geniuses to resist the big disaster that may come next. Kevlin spoke slowly, his voice was not loud, but it made both Benjamin and what feel like shocked. Dong dong dong. At this moment, there was a sudden knock on the door. Kevlin frowned and said, come in. The door opened, and a capable middle-aged man quickly walked in from the door, then knelt on one knee with an anxious look on his face. He said, Elder Coughlin, the group of newcomers you asked me to monitor rushed to Paltrow's mansion early in the morning, wounded several of Paltrow's men, and beat them to their knees. On the spot, Paltrow showed up later, and now Jason is having a decisive battle with core disciple Paltrow in the challenge center. What? The three of them in the room, Kevlin, were shocked and stood up suddenly. No, this Jason is too reckless. Kevlin looked with a trace of annoyance, this is Patroni. He is a core disciple, an 8th level low-level emperor spiritual master, how can he be compared to a low-level emperor spiritual master like him? As they spoke, Sevlin and Benjamin rushed out of the Elixir Medicine Tower. At the Challenge Center in the South City of Elixir City, Jason and Paltrow were facing each other from a distance. This is a huge arena, which is where the Elixir Medicine Master Tower comes from. The venue used by the Medicine Master Tower disciples to duel. Generally, disciples duel in the challenge room, and those who can duel here are usually very famous battles. At this moment, this arena, which can accommodate countless people, is being a group of disciples were surrounded. Both Jason and Paltrow were recently famous figures in the Elixir City. The conflict between the old and the new naturally attracted the attention of countless people. Boy, I have to admit that you are very talented, but if you want to fight with me, you are still far behind. If you are willing to surrender to me, maybe I can spare your life. On the ring, Paltrow stood proudly, he looked at Jason with admiring eyes, just like an elder looking at a promising junior, his eyes full of pride and conceit. Stop talking nonsense, since you are unwilling to kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake, then take action. Jason sneered. Stubborn, since you decide to seek death, then I will help you. Paltrow laughed back angrily, the previous blow was just a casual blow from me. Now, let me show you the true strength of Paltrow. Paltrow roared to the sky, his long hair was flying all over the sky, his golden robes were fluttering, and the spiritual energy emitted from his body fluctuated continuously, and the amazing golden spiritual energy enveloped the world. Boom! An invisible ripple emanated from Paltrow's body. The whole world seemed to turn into gold in an instant. All space within a radius of 1 kilometer was bound. To be precise, Paltrow completely controlled the metal spiritual elements within a kilometer radius. Elemental enchantment. An elemental barrier that only an 8th level Emperor spiritual master can cast. In the metal element space, the terrifying restraint force was constantly pressing against Jason. Paltrow looked at Jason with a sneer on his lips. You ants don't know the power of the divine dragon. Let me show you the gap between me, Paltrow, as an 8th level imperial spiritual master, and you. How can my majesty be offended by a newcomer like you? Yes, now, just go to hell. Amidst the loud shouts, Paltrow held his right hand in the air, and the golden spiritual elements within a kilometer radius instantly rioted. A giant golden palm with a radius of more than 10 feet was condensed out of thin air again, aiming at Jason's hand. He slapped it away hard. With this blow, Paltrow didn't hold back at all and used all his strength. In all the space around Jason's body, any other spiritual elements were instantly evacuated, leaving only the spiritual element of the metal system permeated it, and the whole world was covered with golden light. The power of the golden element was raging in the sky, covering up the light of the sun. Elemental enchantment? Jason sneered, and the golden ball in his mind spun like lightning. Buzz. A golden ripple also spread, covering the entire arena. 2 elemental barriers of the same attribute collided together. In an instant, the entire arena was filled with terrifying explosions. In the golden light, Jason's whole body soaring into the sky, the god-destroying killing technique was running in his body, and 3 times the combat power was suddenly displayed. At the same time, a burst of flames suddenly rose from the black heavy sword in his hand, forming a huge flaming sword more than 10 feet long. Aiming at the location of the golden palm, he chopped it down hard. 3 times the power. Feng Yan, triple wave. The fiery red flaming giant sword and the golden palm collided together like lightning in everyone's horrified eyes. Boom! A huge explosion sounded, and the entire sky seemed to shake under the blow. In the astonishing explosion, Jason groaned and stepped back dozens of meters, and Paltrow also stepped back, his face turned pale. Metal elemental barrier, you guy. Feeling the elemental barrier emanating from Jason's body, Paltrow had a look of surprise on his face. How could he didn't expect that Jason, who was a 7th level imperial spiritual master, could also release an elemental barrier, and it was the same metal elemental barrier as himself. What surprised Paltrow even more was that the elemental barriers of both sides were in confrontation, and his own seemed to be below, which made Paltrow feel unbelievable. When Jason released the golden elemental barrier, Paltrow thought that Jason was also an 8th level imperial spiritual master, but he just hit his own level. However, after the fight, he could feel the opponent's spell. The level of spiritual power is indeed only the 7th level imperial spiritual power, but before, it exploded with extremely amazing energy, which was evenly matched by the full blow of a low-level emperor spiritual master. This made him I couldn't help but feel a little surprised in my heart. Around the ring, all the spectators were shocked when they saw the elemental barrier released by Jason. Brat, there are a few moments, but so what, go to hell. Paltrow roared, his pupils instantly turned golden, and countless sharp golden sword rainbows appeared quickly around him, like thousands of golden swords flying in the air, constantly turning, trembling slightly, terrifying. It seems that the dispersion of the golden power makes the space distorted. Phew! Boom! Quiet! The terrifying golden sword rainbow looked like the huge school of swimming fish in the sea for an instant. Thousands of densely packed golden sword rainbows, under the control of Paltrow, rushed towards Jason crazily, covering the sky and the sun. Rumble! There were bursts of explosions in the air, and the space was distorted. The sword rainbow, containing terrifying golden spiritual power, formed a golden storm, aiming at the hero not far away. The forest swept away. Golden sword rainbows were arranged together in a very regular manner, forming a huge golden cylinder, like a golden snake-like monster, constantly spinning and rushing forward, swallowing everything, and making an astonishing whistling sound. The sword light that filled the sky was everywhere, annihilating everything. The air was cut open and shattered like glass. Such an astonishing scene, with the terrifying golden laws escaping, shocked everyone present. This Paltrow's understanding of the laws of the metal system is so amazing. Although he is a spiritual medicine master, his understanding of the laws of the metal system is actually higher than that of ordinary spiritual masters of the same level. Well, how did he practice? Core disciples, is this the strength of core disciples? Incredible, no wonder they say that core disciples are the core strength of my spiritual medicine master tower. They are indeed well-deserved. Such strength, even if you and I go up there will be no return, right? This Jason is in danger. Everyone in the small arena seats was excited, and several protectors who were 8th level low-level Emperor spiritual masters also showed their faces. He made a sound in shock, swallowed hard, and stared at the ring for a moment. The astonishing strength shown by Paltrow surprised even those spiritual masters who had advanced to the 8th level of low-level Imperial spiritual masters and became the guardians of the spiritual medicine master tower. Faced with Paltrow's terrifying attack, Jason's face was solemn as never before. The god-destroying art was running in his body, and he was vomiting astonishing 5-element spiritual power. An unconcealable coercion rose from his body, and there was blood in his chest. Boiling, fighting spirit surging in his eyes. Haha, come on! Jason roared, waving the black heavy sword in his hand, and was completely engulfed by the storm of golden swords that filled the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Continuous explosions continued to be heard in the sky. On the huge competition arena, astonishing explosions continued to spread. Jason held a black épée, like a man swimming in a rapid river. The moving little fish swam in the dense golden sword rainbow that filled the sky. Astonishing explosions sounded one after another, and the perfect footwork that Jason had learned in the trial space of the Continental Elite competition was fully used. The black heavy sword in his hand was swung into a black ball formed, enveloping his entire body. Boom, boom, boom. Jason, who transformed into a black ball, kept floating up and down in the river of golden sword rainbow. He was knocked over by the golden waves, submerged into it, floated up again, and was knocked over again. Astonishing explosions continued to sound. Jason's, the black ball it turned into never sank. In the auditorium of the Challenge Center Arena, countless spectators from Panacea City were stunned. Of these two opponents, one kept attacking and killing, and the terrifying spiritual power continuously released thousands of sword rays, which were impossible to dodge, and kept attacking Jason. The other one, who seemed to be an elegant master, dodged the opponent's attacks again and again. The black épée in his hand was used to an unimaginable degree. He was floating in the torrent of sword light. Those who were as fast as ordinary 7th level Emperor spiritual masters could only the golden sword rainbow attack that filled the sky with enough time to see the shadow, but with the defense of Jason's body skills and the black heavy sword in his hand, he was defeated before he could wait. This shocking scene shocked everyone and made them excited. Is this Jason really just a 7th level Imperial spiritual master? Almost all the viewers had such doubts in their minds and couldn't believe it. The 7th and 8th levels and an extremely huge hurdle. Not to mention anything else, the elemental barrier possessed by an 8th level Emperor spiritual master can suppress any 7th level Emperor spiritual master to death. Ordinary, it was easy for an 8th level Imperial spiritual master to kill a 7th level Imperial spiritual master. It could be said to be a one-sided killing. However, at this moment, Jason, although he was extremely embarrassed by Paltrow's sword rainbow attack, running around and passively defending, everyone could see that Paltrow's intention to kill Jason based on this was not a big deal. Simple things. How did this Jason do it? Some of the guardians were shocked and felt unbelievable in their hearts. Spiritual masters of many types are strong, but they are not so strong. Jason can defeat Philclass. Although they are shocking, everyone can still explain them as geniuses and multi-system spiritual masters, but the combat power Jason has shown now is simply incomprehensible. Not to mention anything else, the golden sword rainbow that fills the sky contains extremely deep golden laws, and the energy it carries is incredibly powerful. Even if they are the guardians of the spiritual medicine master tower, they will be difficult to resist, but Jason, an imperial spiritual master who had advanced to the 7th level in JoJo, resisted forcefully. At this moment, everyone understood that Jason's emergence in the spiritual medicine master tower had become a foregone conclusion. No matter what the final result of this game was, just because Jason was a 7th level low-level emperor spiritualist. With his strength, he could block such a powerful attack from Paltrow, which was enough to make him famous and attract the attention of the higher-ups in the elixir tower. In the golden torrent, Jason, who seemed extremely stubborn to others, was resisting non-stop. His forehead was covered with sweat, and he was waving the heavy sword in his hand with sharp eyes. This move of Paltrow is somewhat similar to that of his father, a gold spiritual master who basically controls the 4th form of the secret technique, Wanjian Guizhong. He is indeed the core disciple of the spiritual medicine master tower. Jason said silently in his heart, but the movement of his hands did not stop at all. His father, Renaud, is also an 8th level low-level gold-type imperial spiritual master. Jason naturally knows a lot about the attack methods of gold-type emperor spiritual masters. The most powerful thing about the move of 10,000 Swords returning sect is its extremely lethality. No one can escape its attack, but it also has a fatal weakness, that is, its power is not that great. It is said that the power is not great, but relatively speaking, an ordinary 7th level emperor spiritual master will be defeated if he cannot block a single move. Even a low-level 8th level emperor spiritual master will probably be seriously injured if he is attacked by such a fierce attack, but Jason is different. Under the barrier of golden elements of the golden ball, the power of Palterow's sword rainbow has been weakened. Coupled with his perfect body skills and advanced sword skills, no matter how fierce the sword rainbow attack is, but rarely hit Jason. Even if the attacks are too dense to resist, Jason can easily block them with 3 times the increase in combat power. Once injured, the richwood element released by the green ball will the vitality of life can also quickly heal the injuries on his body. With the combination of so many factors, Jason was able to withstand this terrifying attack. Damn it! Seeing that Jason could still persist despite such a terrifying attack, Paltrow was extremely angry and shouted angrily. Boom! Paltrow's long golden hair flew instantly, and the secret method was activated. Golden rays of light bloomed from his body, and all the golden spiritual elements in the air rushed in like crazy. Inside his body, the void slash of the golden element mystery. Thousands of golden sword rainbows that were constantly attacking Jason stopped instantly, buzzing and trembling. Under Palterow's control, they instantly condensed together to form a huge golden sword. Die! Exclamation point. A hint of cold murderous intent appeared in the corner of Paltrow's mouth, and he roared. The golden giant sword, which was more than 10 feet high and 1 foot wide, was aimed at Jason like a pillar of heaven and slashed at Jason. Wherever the giant golden sword went, the void collapsed, revealing dark cracks in space, forming energy storms that enveloped Jason. The spiritual power in Jason's body boiled, and the god-destroying technique was running. 3 times the combat power was struck instantly, and the black heavy sword in his hand collided with the golden giant sword instantly. Boom! A deafening roar sounded, and the terrifying spiritual power spread out, covering the entire arena, destroying all tangible and intangible existences. In the dazzling golden light, Jason's whole body was thrown away like a cannonball. He walked out and hit the ring hard. Bang! The arena was filled with smoke and dust. It was made of hard black armored rock and could not be easily destroyed by even the 7th level Emperor Spirit Master. At this moment, a huge pit was opened like tofu. Haha, brat, this is you. The strength? In the sky, Paltrow looked up and laughed, full of crazy meaning. Whoosh! The rock splashed, and a figure flew out of the deep pit. It was Jason, whose clothes were torn and a little embarrassed. You dare to fight me? Today, I'm going to show you what happens if you offend me, Paltero. Paltro was full of energy, his body's spiritual energy vibrated, and his golden giant sword condensed again, aiming at Jason continued to bombard him. Boom! 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 Continuous explosions continued to sound in this area. Under Paltro's attack, Jason's whole body was continuously hit into the ring, but he stood up, and then was shot down to the ground, leaving huge pits on top. The whole person was in a state of embarrassment and could only resist. Master! Jason! In the audience, Rongxing and others exclaimed. Seeing Jason being beaten continuously, their faces were full of worry, but they were helpless and could only watch. Watching this scene. Haha, you brat, die! Paltro roared to the sky, and the giant sword in his hand fell down for an unknown number of times. Boom! Jason received another heavy blow and fell to the ground. However, there was no fear on his face. Instead, he showed an expression of excitement. At this moment, the 7th level low-level energy in his body was constantly flowing. Under the attack, it finally boiled over completely. Boom! An extremely powerful 5-element power burst out from Jason's body on the ring. Waves of overwhelming spiritual energy were like waves, spreading out around Jason's body as the center. This scene shocked everyone present. Recommend a new book from a friend, Introduction to the Unparalleled Demon King, Thousands of Demons Possess You, Stars Shatter Mountains and Rivers Collapse. I look up and smile, I am the king, point my sword at the sky and move the universe. At this moment, the entire arena instantly turned into a sea of spiritual power. A huge wave of spiritual power burst out from the surface of Jason's body. This wave of spiritual power was like a wolf smoke, soaring into the sky and towering into the sky. At the same time, all the spiritual elements in the sky and the earth around the entire arena became violent in an instant. Countless rays of 5-color rays of light transformed over the arena, as brilliant as the aurora and shocking. Streams of 5-color spiritual energy continued to rise into the sky, forming streaks of rays of light in the sky. The entire arena was instantly filled with violent spiritual elements. The 5 elements of spiritual elements in the surrounding heaven and earth were violently forming a huge vortex, crazy. He rushed towards Jason in the center of the vortex, and was then absorbed into his body. The inexplicable pressure dissipated, and waves of overwhelming spiritual energy spread like waves, centering on Jason's body and spreading out in all directions. At this moment, the boiling 7th level low-level spiritual power in Jason's body suddenly became violent, breaking through the 7th level intermediate meridian entrance, and transformed into a 7th level intermediate spiritual power under the infusion of endless 5-element spiritual power. A terrifying power of heaven and earth descended from the sky, oppressing everyone present, making people almost suffocate. This sudden scene immediately shocked everyone present. This Jason actually advanced in battle? Master, did he advance? Everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe what they were seeing. Ha ha, ha ha ha. In the sky, Jason couldn't help laughing. Under the infusion of endless spiritual power, the spiritual power fluctuations on his body continued to climb, reaching an astonishing level. In the secret trial realm, after Jason took the 5 elements reincarnation potion, he was directly promoted to the peak of the 7th level low level. He is only one step away from the 7th level intermediate level. In the secret trial realm, he will next practice god destruction. In the process of killing techniques and hunting spiritual beasts, the spiritual power in Jason's body was also constantly improving, but it was stuck at the 7th level low-level peak level and never broke through. Now, under Paltro's violent attack, Jason finally broke through this opportunity and successfully advanced to the 7th level intermediate imperial spiritual master. Feeling the powerful spiritual power in his body, Jason couldn't help but smile. Then, he raised his head, his eyes were cold, like sharp blades, staring straight at Paltrow. The look in his eyes was like a lion looking at a sheep, revealing the naked taste of killing. You were the one attacking before, but now it's my turn. I hope you can hit me a few times, but don't die after a few hits. That's really boring. Jason's voice was cold, making people feel like the weather from the scorching heat of July. It feels like winter has suddenly arrived, which makes people tremble. Paltrow's cheeks twitched violently, his eyes were angry, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth, as if he was really angry. He said angrily, "You brat, aren't you just promoted to the 7th level intermediate Imperial Spiritual Master? No matter what you do, even if you are promoted, you will not be able to escape the ending of being obliterated by me today." As he spoke, the golden giant sword in Paltrow's hand condensed again, and he aimed at Jason and slashed down hard, with a ferocious look on his face. Die. In the angry roar, endless spiritual power exploded, and wherever the giant sword touched, terrifying black cracks were opened in the void. Facing Paltrow's attack, the body that had previously stood as proud as a pine tree suddenly moved. A dazzling light burst out from his eyes, the god-destroying art was activated, and terrifying spiritual power rose into the sky. 5 times more powerful. He shouted in his heart, and the black heavy sword in his hand aimed at the golden giant sword and struck it down hard. Boom! The black heavy sword in Jason's hand instantly turned into a black angry dragon, roaring, and collided with the golden giant sword in Paltrow's hand. Bang! In everyone's horrified eyes, the golden giant sword that had previously beaten Jason to the point of being unable to fight back, at this moment, shattered like a mirror and turned into golden starlight all over the sky. Dispersed in the air. The black angry dragon broke through the golden giant without any pause, and hit Paltrow hard. Paltrow's body shook violently, and the golden spiritual armor on his body shattered. He retreated tens of meters heavily, a trace of blood slipped from the corner of his mouth, and there was unconcealable horror in his eyes. Go to hell! Jason roared, striding forward. With every step he took, a piece of void collapsed. His 5 fingers spread out, and 5 dazzling rainbows were shot out. The astonishing 5-element spiritual power it condensed in the void and turned into a 5-fingered giant mountain, rising in the wind, aiming at Paltrow's location and pressing down. Boom! The void collapsed, and with the deafening roar, Paltrow had no time to resist, and was completely shot into the ring. The entire ring trembled under this blow, and the ground cracked countless ways. Huge gap. With one blow, the 5-finger sacred mountain transformed into the spiritual power of the 5 elements dissipated. On top of the ring, Paltrow was shot several feet deep into the ring, in an extremely embarrassed state. With this blow, all the hard black armored rock on the surface of the arena was turned into powder, and the breeze blew by, scattering smoke and dust all over the sky. Hiss! In an instant, the whole place suddenly burst into gasps. Everyone looked at Jason floating there quietly with dull eyes, with a look of incomparable horror in their eyes. Boom! In the rock formations of the arena, Paltrow suddenly flew up. His body was extremely miserable, his robes were torn, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. His long, flowing golden hair was now as messy as a bird's nest. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. Paltrow roared up to the sky, with a ferocious look on his face. His eyes were red, unable to accept the fact that he was shot down by Jason. Countless golden spiritual rays of light suddenly condensed from his body, and as the terrifying golden spiritual power dissipated, rays of misty golden light crisscrossed his body. In an instant, Paltrow's entire body turned into a golden sword rainbow, aiming at Jason's position and slashing it down. Die! Secret skill of Gold. The man and the sword merge into one. Amidst the roar, the entire void was cut open, revealing a huge space crack, dissipating a heart-stopping power. Human and sword merge into one? The pearl of a grain of rice also shines with brilliance. Jason snorted coldly. An astonishing coercion rose from his body. The god-destroying art was operating to the extreme in an instant. At the same time, the 5 elements of spiritual power in his body also went crazy under the operation of the spiritual god art. The terrifying power actually caused the meridians in Jason's 8th level peak body to produce the slightest twinge of pain. Boom! Jason slashed out with his sword, unleashing 5 times his combat power instantly. Almost half of the 7th level intermediate spiritual power filled in his body was consumed in an instant. The black ape turned into a dragon and merged with Paltrow's body. The golden giant swords collided together. The space disappeared silently, and a huge space crack appeared in the void, revealing the dark space. The endless space power around it quickly made up for it, and the bait disappeared in an instant. The dazzling brilliance bloomed, and the golden giant sword, condensed by Paltrow, collapsed instantly, and then fell heavily into the ring again, with a huge roar, and a huge deep pit was smashed on it. At this moment, there was silence around the entire arena. All the spectators were like chickens, being held up by their necks, their eyes widened, their mouths opened, and they were too horrified to make any sound. What's going on? Everyone felt unbelievable in their hearts. Jason had been promoted to the 7th level intermediate imperial spiritual master before, which was good, but no matter how much he was promoted, he was only a 7th level intermediate imperial spiritual master. But that Paltero was really, really good. The 8th level low-level emperor spiritual master, who had a profound understanding of the laws of the metal system, was actually slapped into the ground by Jason's palm. Such a shocking scene shocked everyone. Above the ring, Jason stood coldly and proudly. After being promoted to the 7th level intermediate imperial spiritual master, his god-destroying technique was increased from 3 times to 5 times the original combat power. Coupled with the increase in his own combat power, the amplitude of the 5 elements spiritual power, in terms of strength, Jason has already surpassed Paltrow, who is an 8th level imperial spiritual master. I am the core disciple of the spiritual medicine master tower. How can you, a little newcomer, be better than me, brat? If you want you to die, I will call you at this moment. An extremely unwilling roar suddenly came out from the deep pit that Jason had knocked out. Immediately, a figure quickly flew into the sky. It was the same person who had been blasted into the ground by Jason earlier. Of Paltero. At this moment, Paltrow's face no longer had the overwhelming aura it had before. The robe on his body had already become extremely tattered in the previous bombardment. His entire face was distorted, extremely embarrassed, and his eyes were crazy. Amidst the roar, a medicine bottle containing cyan solution suddenly appeared in Paltero's hand, and he opened the bottle cap at once. As soon as the cap of this blue elixir was opened, an astonishing breath of spiritual power shot up into the sky from it. The rich aura of the elixir dissipated. In an instant, the spiritual elements in the entire world became violent in an instant, and a stream of cyan energy burst into the sky. The glow is constantly reflected in the sky. This is a 7th level emperor level madness potion. In the audience seats around the ring, some elixir master disciples suddenly changed their faces when they saw the elixir in Paltrow's hand, revealing extremely horrified eyes. The madness elixir, a 7th level imperial elixir, needs to be taken. The person must be at least a 7th level senior imperial spiritual master. Otherwise the terrifying spiritual power contained in it can make the body of any spiritual master below the level of a 1st level senior imperial spiritual master explode in an instant. The effect of the madness potion is extremely powerful, and based on the principle of fully unleashing the potential within a spiritual master's body. After taking it, an 8th level low-level emperor spiritual master can soar in strength in a short period of time. Even an 8th level intermediate emperor spiritual master has to temporarily avoid the sharp edge. It is said to be against the sky. Above the 7th level, the gap at any level is extremely huge. This can be seen from the comparison of the strength between Jason and Paltrow after he advanced from the 7th level to the 7th level. With this madness potion, Paltero's strength will make a qualitative leap. Haha, brat, I have to admit that you are a genius. With the power of a 7th-level intermediate emperor spiritual master, you actually have such terrifying combat power. Unfortunately, in addition to being an 8th-level low-level emperor spiritual master, I am also the 7th-level intermediate elixir master. While roaring, Paltero took the madness potion in one gulp, and the spiritual aura of his whole body underwent an astonishing change in an instant. Haha, today, you, a genius, are going to die in my hands. I want you to die, I want you to die. Paltrow roared to the sky with a crazy look on his face. In an instant, the situation has changed again. Everyone around the ring was looking at Jason in shock, but at this moment, they turned into sadness. Such a genius, it's a pity that he will die today. By the way, the other party took the elixir and seemed very arrogant. To be continued. In the ring, a strange atmosphere spread. Everyone was silently watching Jason and Paltrow on the ring, with inexplicable expressions in their eyes. At the beginning, they only had a superficial concept of Jason. They only knew that there was an extremely powerful newcomer in the Spiritual Master Tower, and his attainments in spiritual medicine surpassed the veteran 6, like Reddy's. A senior spiritual master, extremely powerful. But what happened today gave everyone a real understanding of Jason. With the power of the 7th-level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master, he forcefully forced 3 veteran 7th-level high-level Imperial Spiritual Masters, Philclass, to kneel down. Their arrogance when facing the core disciple Paltrow, and his strength in the ring, from a disadvantage at the beginning, he advanced in the battle and finally defeated Paltrow strongly. Everything demonstrates this young man's amazing talent and strength. In today's battle, Jason gave them too many surprises and too many shocks. No matter how they felt about Jason at first, whether they felt disdain, curiosity, contempt, or admiration, in the end at this moment, all that was left was deep admiration. Yes, it was admiration. They were all impressed by Jason's amazing performance and felt extremely shocked. But no matter what, this stunning young man who was admired by everyone is now going to die. Wow. In the audience, several 8th-level low-level Emperor, Spiritual Master level protectors all stood up at this moment and looked at where Jason was. Surrender quickly, young man. They who admired Jason very much were praying in their hearts at this moment. Killing is not allowed in the Spirit Master Tower. As long as Jason says the word surrender, these guardians will step forward to save Jason and stop Paltrow. But Jason did not surrender, and the duel continued. It was difficult for them to attack before the winner was determined. But in their hearts, they all knew that as long as Jason didn't surrender now, he would almost certainly die. If the former Paltrow and them, who are low-level Imperial Spiritual Masters, are evenly matched, or at most slightly better, if they can still save people from Paltrow in times of crisis, after Paltrow takes the madness after taking the medicine, his strength has far exceeded that of anyone present. If he wants to kill someone, the low-level Emperor Spiritual Master Guardians present may not be able to save him even if they attack together. It's a long story, but it all happened in just a moment. Paltrow felt the surging spiritual power in his body that was about to explode, and looked at Jason with red eyes. The corners of his mouth were raised high, his eyes were full of contempt, and his face was filled with an extremely proud expression. Being able to kill a genius like Jason is extremely exciting for anyone. It is an extremely strong pleasure of conquest. When he thinks that Jason will die in his own hands later, Paltrow's whole person, I'm so excited that I'm about to explode. At the same time, his spiritual consciousness is also firmly locked on Jason. Once he finds that Jason has a tendency to surrender, he will take action like a thunder, without any hesitation. Paltrow looked at Jason arrogantly, wanting to see the panic on his face. However, Jason's performance on the other side of the ring completely stunned Paltrow. After Paltrow took the madness potion, Jason not only didn't panic, but had a smile on his face. What is he laughing at? This thought floated in the minds of Paltrow and everyone present almost instantly. Why are you laughing? Don't you know that you are already dead? Kneel down and beg for mercy, you bastard. As long as I am happy, I might be able to spare your life. Paltrow became angry and roared. Jason looked at Paltrow indifferently, his eyes full of sadness, like an eagle soaring in the sky looking at an ant, full of pity. Do you think you are the only one who has the elixir? A clear voice sounded over the entire arena and reached everyone's ears. On the ring, Jason said indifferently, flipped his left hand, and 3 bottles of elixir of different colors appeared in his left hand instantly. Boom! As soon as these 3 bottles of spiritual elixir appeared, the air was like a detonated explosive barrel, suddenly revealing powerful spiritual power fluctuations. The elixirs of various colors reflect the dying light under the sunlight. Different elixirs form different scenery, overlapping each other, forming a dying glow above everyone's heads. The surrounding spiritual elements became violent in an instant, and the terrifying spiritual energy dissipated, forming a constantly merging phenomenon above Jason's head. Seeing this scene, everyone below was stunned. This is the Spirit Yao Master Tower, a place where spiritual medicine masters from the mainland gather. These disciples don't see much else, and spiritual medicine is often used. So the understanding of the elixir is far beyond what ordinary people can understand. What kind of elixir is this, and why does it cause such a terrifying vision? In the auditorium around the ring, many spectators stared with wide eyes and murmured in shock. Although the 7th-level Imperial elixirs are collectively referred to as Imperial elixirs, the quality of different Imperial elixirs is also very different, and the main difference between the strength and weakness of the 7th-level Imperial elixirs is it depends on the vision of heaven and earth produced when the elixir is born, and the terrifying aura it usually brings when it is taken out. Like the Madness elixir that Paltrow took out earlier, if it is divided into specific parts, it can be regarded as a 7th-order mid-grade Imperial elixir, and it is also a quite powerful one among the 7th-order mid-grade. But now the 3 bottles of elixir that Jason took out, the scenes and the terrifying fluctuations in spiritual power brought about are even more astonishing. Not to mention the 3 bottles of elixir combined, even if any one of them is taken out alone, it will be far away. Paltrow's crazy potion surprised everyone. You are a small emperor spiritual master who has just been promoted to the 7th level not long ago. Why do you have an emperor-level elixir in the sky? Paltrow screamed like a frightened cat, his face it's unimaginable, let's think about it. Did you redeem it with points? Then, as if something suddenly occurred to him, Paltrow's face showed a hint of surprise, and then he was filled with irritation and anger. The audience below were also filled with surprise after being surprised, and were helpless at Jason's wealth. The 7th-level Imperial elixir, even the most common 7th-level Imperial healing elixir, requires hundreds of thousands of points in the trading center, and the price of the crazy elixir that Paltrow took before is still the same. Higher. Most people couldn't afford to redeem such elixir, but Jason redeemed 3 bottles at once, which was shocking. However, what still puzzled everyone was that no one present could recognize the 3 bottles of elixir that Jason took out. It seemed that they had never seen it in the trading center before. This made them all frown. Among the crowd, only Rongsheng and the others knew that these 3 bottles of elixir were not exchanged by Jason at the trading center, but were prepared yesterday after spending a whole day. Damn it, you go to hell. In the sky, Paltrow saw that Jason had taken out 3 bottles of Imperial elixir at once, and suddenly felt something bad in his heart. After being shocked, he took action brazenly. Boom! Terrifying golden spiritual power surged, and a huge golden palm formed between heaven and earth in the blink of an eye, aiming at Jason's location and striking like lightning. Jason's own strength is stronger than Paltrow. Now after taking the Madness elixir, Paltrow has barely surpassed the opponent. Once Jason takes these 3 bottles of elixir, it will be very difficult for him to do so. The advantage just gained may be lost again. Jason quickly glanced at the 3 bottles of elixir in his hand, and shook his left hand slightly. Suddenly, only one of the 3 bottles of elixir was left. At the same time, the cap of the elixir was opened automatically, and was severely beaten by Jason. of poured in. Middle. No matter how fast Paltero moves, how can he be faster than Jason's drinking speed? Boom. As soon as this bottle of light blue elixir was taken into the mouth, the terrifying spiritual power dispersed from Jason's body. For a moment, a strong five-element spiritual power soared into the sky like a rocket. The rich spiritual power of the five elements seemed to have turned into a substantial colorful rainbow, towering between heaven and earth like a pillar of heaven. In an instant, Jason's strength increased by an unknown amount. Every time he moved his hands and feet, bursts of explosive sounds could be heard in the air. "Get out of my way!" A ray of light suddenly shot out from his eyes. Jason shouted loudly, and struck out with a bang with the black heavy sword in his hand. Boom! The void collapsed, and a huge space crack appeared. The black heavy sword in Jason's right hand struck Paltero's giant golden palm like lightning, splitting it into pieces instantly. The two masters fought in the air, and their power spread out, destroying countless tangible and intangible entities in the arena. Poof! Paltero's face turned pale, and he spurted out a mouthful of blood. His body glided in the air for dozens of feet before stopping. But Jason was still proudly flying in the air, rushing towards Paltero. "Patra, kneel down." Behind Jason, the lightning wings spread out and extended into the void. With a slight flicker, a strong space storm was created. With a flash of movement, he came directly in front of Paltero, with 5 colors of divine light flowing on his body, like a god in the void. His palms spread out, turning into 5 sky-high rainbows, and he aimed at Paltero and shot them again, suppressed head-on. Boom! The void was exploded at this moment. At this moment, Paltero almost felt the smell of death, and felt suffocated. All he saw in front of him was the sacred mountain formed by Jason's palm crashing down. This, what kind of elixir did Jason take? Why is he so powerful? Seeing Jason's appearance as if a god had descended into the world, Paltero was horrified, his body was shaking, and his will almost collapsed. Jason's huge palm fell, giving him a feeling of suffocation, and a feeling of annihilation swept through Paltero's heart, making him tremble with fear. But he is a core disciple after all. He has been practicing hard in the Spirit Yao Master Tower for more than 10 years. He has gone through countless tests and battles to become a master. When faced with danger, he roars and punches out continuously. Golden Tiger Sun-Eating Fist. Amidst the roar, a golden tiger appeared behind Paltero. It roared towards the sky and swallowed up mountains and rivers. Its majestic aura seemed to swallow up the sun and the sky and dominate the world. 3 golden tigers blasted out from Paltero's hand, bringing out a golden lightning bolt, like a meteor falling from the sky, and aimed at Jason's huge palm that was pressing down, and hit it hard, resisting Jason's pressure. The falling 5-finger rainbow. It's amazing. Paltero has actually mastered the Golden Tiger Sun-Eating Fist. I heard that this Golden Tiger Sun-Eating Fist must be at least the level of an Emperor Spiritual Master of the Gold System before it can be practiced, and it requires extremely high understanding of the laws. Harshness cannot be practiced by any Gold-type Emperor Spiritual Master. Each of these 3 tigers has more than half of its own combat power. In the auditorium of the arena, many disciples who knew the Golden Tiger Sun-Eating Fist, they all stood up in surprise. Golden Tiger Sun-Eating Fist? Jason looked at it coldly and could tell at a glance that these 3 tigers looked similar to the golden giant palms struck by ordinary Emperor Spiritual Masters. They seemed to be just the essence of elements. The actual objects created are actually very different. The metal spiritual elements that condense these 3 golden tigers are an extremely weird arrangement. They are not a simple materialization of elements, but something unique. It is formed by condensing the secret method and the laws of the metal system. However, facing these 3 golden tigers, Jason's eyes were cold, the 5 elements of spiritual power in his body were boiling, and the god-destroying technique was running, and another powerful force rose from his body. God-destroying technique, 5 times the combat power. Jason pressed down his palm again, and the five-fingered divine rainbow suddenly surged, sweeping across one side. Amidst the roar, the surrounding spiritual elements turned into whirlpools, and space cyclones appeared one after another. The void was shattered one after another like glass. A golden tiger was destroyed by him with a bang, and was crushed into a sky full of golden spiritual elements, dissipating in the air. It's so awesome. He killed one of Paltrow's 3 golden tigers. Many people stared and exclaimed. As soon as he finished speaking, there was another loud noise, and the second golden tiger was killed again. Paltrow roared again and again, controlling the golden tiger to resist, but Jason was not afraid. He suppressed the force for 10 seconds, and the five-finger divine rainbow was suppressed again. During the attack, the third golden tiger was crushed into pieces. A ball of golden light, fragmented and destroyed. In the blink of an eye, the golden tiger's sun-devouring fist had just been used, but before it could exert its power, it was completely killed by Jason. All spirits returned to their origin, take it back. Jason's five-finger divine rainbow tore apart and swirled continuously. He did not attack Paltrow, but grabbed the golden light that the golden tiger had transformed into, and his spiritual consciousness Jidong, feel carefully. He actually wanted to understand the golden laws and secrets contained in the golden tiger in this battle, and wanted to understand the golden tiger's sun-eating fist. Damn it, why, Jason, I want you to die, I want you to kneel in front of me and suffer humiliation, and then twist off your head. Paltrow roared to the sky, with a ferocious expression and fierce eyes. The ground shot out a fierce light. Fight. Off. Finally, Paltrow showed his final trump card. He roared again and again, blood bulged all over his body, and the golden robe on his body instantly turned into powder and floated into the air under the strong inspiration of spiritual power. All the effects of the mad potion exploded instantly in Paltrow's body. Paltrow mustered up all his spiritual will and raised his power to the maximum. Countless golden rays of light condensed on his body surface, forming a golden giant. In an instant, Paltrow seemed to have transformed into a golden armored war god, and golden light bloomed from his body, like an undefeated god. This is the supreme secret method of the Golden Emperor Holy King Kung Fu, a high-grade moon-level skill practiced by Paltrow, the incarnation of the Golden Emperor. This is Paltrow's real trump card, the incarnation of the Golden Emperor, the incarnation of the Golden Emperor. Emperor, invincible and immortal, must understand the original law of gold before he can use it. According to rumors, once the incarnation of the Gold Emperor is used, all aspects of the body will double in an instant, which is incredible. Now Jason. It's difficult. Once the supreme secret method comes out, who in the world can compete with it? I heard that this incarnation of the Golden Emperor must reach the 8th level Senior Emperor Spiritual Master before it can be used. If Paltrow uses it in advance, he may cause serious damage to his body. Even if you defeat Jason, it will be extremely harmful to your future cultivation, and your future will be worrying. Danger, this has completely angered Paltrow. It seems that he must kill Jason to relieve his hatred. Some disciples, and even some guardians who heard the news, all stared. My eyes widened. The Golden Emperor incarnates, and the supreme secret method emerges. Paltrow launched a desperate counterattack. The incarnation of the Golden Emperor, a devastating blow. Boom! Paltrow roared, aiming at Jason and striking out from a distance. Spiritual Emperor, King of Emperors, Immortal Spirit. At this moment, Jason suddenly snorted coldly, and the 5 elements of spiritual power around his body suddenly converged, and were all sucked into his body in an instant. In Jason's body, the energy in the Emperor's spiritual elixir that he had taken earlier burned instantly under Jason's control, and the surging energy instantly squeezed into his muscles and meridians. 5-color divine light bloomed from the surface of his body, like a Buddha rising from the golden ocean, spreading his dharma. Boom! Jason turned out his palm, and the terrifying spiritual power instantly turned into a 5-color sacred mountain, aiming at Paltrow, who had transformed into a golden giant, to suppress it. No one can imagine the power of this blow. The Spirit Emperor elixir that Jason took was a more heaven-defying elixir than the Madness elixir, making him a 7th-level intermediate Emperor Spirit. Master Jason, at this moment, was on the edge of being an 8th-level Imperial Spiritual Master. Coupled with the spiritual god art, the 5 elements law, and the 5 times the combat power of the god-destroying art, the terrifying attack turned directly into the 5-color sacred mountain and fell from the sky. Boom! The sacred mountain suppressed, directly blasting Paltero's ultimate strike into pieces, and then, in the opponent's horrified eyes, it directly hit Paltero's head. Paltero was hit and flew out. The Golden Emperor was damaged, cracked all over his body, exploded everywhere, and fell directly to the ground. Boom! The huge arena almost collapsed by half under Paltero's impact. The golden body completely collapsed, exposing Paltero, who was covered in blood. In the deep pit, Paltero was in an extremely embarrassed state, with a ferocious expression, and his body stood up unsteadily. "I told you to kneel down, so kneel down." Jason roared, and a thunderous roar fell from the sky. He grabbed the 5-finger rainbow and caught Paltero, who fell to the ground. 5 elements of spiritual power burning was already lifted into the ring in front of him, and he pressed down. No. Paltero felt that his body could not resist at all. He was kneeled down, his knees were pressed down, the rocks shattered, and blood spattered. Within a few moves, things took a turn for the worse. After taking the madness potion, Paltero, who was extremely arrogant before, was now forced to kneel down in front of Jason, and boundless shame flooded into his heart. Before Paltero roared out, "Kowtow to me." Jason didn't show off his anger and slapped Paltero on the back of the head. "Ah!" Paltero yelled and kowtowed heavily on the ring. Blood burst out from his forehead. The hard ring actually had the slightest cracks due to this knock. "I asked for this head from Leonardo and the others, the newcomers who were bullied by you." Jason roared, "Kowtow to me again." Bang! The rock shattered and blood oozed from Par's forehead. Trot's face turned red, his veins swelled, and he was knocked down again by Jason's pressure. "This head is what I asked for on behalf of my disciple Rongxing." 3 knocks. "This head is for your arrogance and daring to confront me." Jason stood proudly like a god of war, saying Bing Ling made a sound. Jason, you have to die a good death, I will cut you into pieces, At this moment, Paltero was completely crazy. Compared with Phil before, among the 3 cross, Paltero was even more humiliated at this moment. When he appeared, he vowed to let Jason kneel down and kowtow to spare his life. In the end, he was defeated, in embarrassment under the gaze of everyone. "Kneel down and kowtow." Gurgling after yelling, bursts of gurgling sounds came from his throat. His eyes turned white, as if his heart was filled with false fire, but he couldn't say anything. He simply couldn't accept that he was being suppressed. The fact that he knelt down and kowtowed was just a sign of his eyes widening and blood pouring out of his mouth. In the audience, people like Reddy's, Byrne, and Phil Kloss were all stupid at this moment, with their mouths opened wide, as if they had become demented. Paltero was defeated. Their boss, the undefeated Paltero, the core disciple of the Spirit Yao Master Tower, the 8th-level low-level Emperor Spiritual Master, and the 7th-level Intermediate Spirit Yao Emperor Master, actually lost their lives in Jia. Sen, a newcomer from Xiaoxiao, was defeated in front of the young man who had just been promoted to the 7th-level Intermediate Imperial Spiritual Master a few minutes ago. They didn't know what to say. At this moment, they felt like they were in a dream or a shocking nightmare. The only thing they thought about was to wake up from this nightmare, and they were unwilling to accept this fact. Not only them, but everyone in the entire audience was also stunned. No one could calm down and was in deep shock. Even Leonardo, Rongxing, and others had completely forgotten the excitement and joy, and some were just shocked and dumbfounded. In an instant, there was silence around the entire arena, and the atmosphere was strangely made of iron. All the scenes were frozen at this moment, motionless. This, am I right? Paltrow was also suppressed and knelt on the ring? He indeed knelt down and kowtowed 3 times. This Jason, it's so ruthless, so brave, so arrogant, so domineering, so powerful. What was the last thing Jason used? With one palm fall, Paltrow, who transformed into the Golden Emperor, was directly suppressed? Now, no one dares to provoke these newcomers. This is not a newcomer, this is an overlord. Even the core disciples have been suppressed. Do ordinary disciples still have a way to survive? After a short silence, there was an extremely noisy discussion. Some of the disciples of Paltrow's group were all slumped in the audience, trembling. As for Redis, he was completely stupid. The all-powerful wind and cloud, it looks good now. Although Jason defeated Paltrow, he was too in the limelight. Some monsters among the core disciples may not be convinced. He will make too many enemies in the future, which is not a good thing. The Elixir Master Tower, the Elixir Master Tower, the Elixir Master is the most important. Although he defeated Paltrow, that Paltrow is the 7th level Intermediate Elixir Master. He has just been promoted to the 7th level Intermediate Emperor. A spiritual master, a senior disciple who is not even a 7th level low-level elixir master, is not a core disciple. No matter how strong he is, he cannot compare with Paltrow's status. This person is too sharp, and he is not as a core disciple. The higher-ups will not appreciate him, they will only suppress him. Anyway, as long as we don't offend these new people, everyone was silent. More and more people gathered in the auditorium around the ring. Even some 8th level Intermediate Emperor, spiritual master level protectors were alerted and came to watch. They were all shocked. Jason, I will never live with you forever, and I will destroy your entire family. If you let me know where you come from and which family you come from, I will completely kill all your relatives and wipe out your entire family. On the ring, Paltrow seemed to have recovered. His face was red, his mouth was roaring angrily, and his eyes were looking at Jason viciously, full of murderous intent. His heart is completely filled with hatred. Once he escapes, he will kill on a large scale, destroy the heaven and the earth, and destroy everything in the world. Hearing Paltrow's words, everyone in the audience couldn't help but shudder. They were all infected by Paltrow's vicious eyes and words. I wonder what Jason will do next. These two people are completely feuding to death, and there is no possibility of reconciliation. Jason's methods are too ruthless, leaving no room for detours. It is indeed a life-and-death feud. Paltrow is a core disciple, the true genius of the Alchemist Tower, and the pride of heaven, but he was beaten to the point of kneeling on the ground and kowtowing by a newcomer. This Paltrow will definitely take revenge crazily in the future. Kill everyone around Jason. Let him go. It's like letting the tiger go back to the mountain. If it's me, I must kill this pal, otherwise I will feel uneasy. Kill this pal. Trow? You see, there are so many guardians in the tower here, they will not allow this scene to happen. We will wait and see. There was a lot of discussion, surging like a tide, and everyone instantly looked at Jason and saw, let's see how he chooses. In today's battle, everyone knows that Jason and Paltrow have a life-and-death feud. There is no possibility of reconciliation with such a deep hatred. If it were in the outside world, Jason could be killed with one blow. Paltrow took matters into his own hands, but this is the pagoda of the spiritual medicine master. Killing among disciples is absolutely not allowed, and no one can violate it. This is a dilemma. Everyone is paying attention to Jason and his next move. The arena was in chaos. Jason stood there calmly. Everyone's eyes were focused on him, feeling an inexplicable pressure. Destroy my clan? Kill my relatives? Jason lifted up Paltrow, with a sneer on his lips, looking at him calmly, and said indifferently, "It's a pity that you no longer have this opportunity, because I want you to die." After his words fell, a surge of spiritual power burst out from his body, aiming at Paltrow and slashing him hard. Boom. Infinite spiritual power exploded, and everyone in the audience was shocked. This Jason actually took action. Stop. Deafening roars came like lightning. In the audience, they saw that Jason was about to take a cruel move. Many of the protectors who had been preparing for a long time rushed out in an instant and rushed towards Jason like lightning. Streaks of brilliant spiritual power emitted from the bodies of many guardians, and an unconcealable pressure enveloped the world, pressing hard against Jason. Now that the outcome of the duel has been decided, they cannot let Paltero die in front of them alive. Open it. Faced with the attacks of many guardians, Jason's whole body suddenly flew up, a divine light shot out from his eyes, and the black heavy sword in his hand swiped violently. Boom. The astonishing amount of spiritual power spread out, and the several guardians who rushed forward all retreated under the blow. Except for the two 8th level intermediate emperor spiritual master level guardians, several other 8th level guardians, the low-level protector's body was trembling, and he stepped back several meters, his face turning pale. Of course, this is also because they just wanted to stop Jason and did not kill him. Jason, what do you want to do? Let go of Paltero quickly. Do you want to violate the rules of the Alchemist Tower? You have already won this duel. If you kill Paltero now, you will violating the rules of the Alchemist Tower is a capital crime. No one can save you. Boy, I know you are strong, but I advise you not to do anything. You are a genius and should not die in the law enforcement hall of the Alchemist Tower. In your hands. Your future is limitless, think carefully. These guardians all had gloomy faces, ready to attack, and shouted angrily. Jason, stop. At this moment, another rumbling roar came, and 3 figures came to Jason like lightning. The leader was a man wearing a worn-out elixir robe and a gray beard. The old man in question was none other than Elder Sevlin of the Alchemist Tower, and behind him, Benjamin and What were looking at Jason anxiously. In the Spirit Medicine Master Tower, killing among disciples is strictly prohibited. This rule has been passed down for hundreds of years, and no one can break it. What's more, Paltero is a core disciple. If Jason kills him, even Elder Sevlin will not be able to save him. Elder Kevlin. All the guardians around him nodded respectfully after seeing Kevlin. Haha, Jason, if you have the guts, kill me. If you kill me, it will be a death penalty. You can't escape. If you don't kill me, I will kill you in the future. Haha, ha ha ha. You brat, if you have the guts, kill me. Kill me, so that we can die together, haha, you are the winner, but you can't escape the fate of dying with me, haha, kill me, or if you don't kill me, you are a coward. The handkerchief held by Jason Ertero not only did not show any timidity at this moment, but he laughed crazily. His face was wild, and it was obvious that he was not afraid of Jason's cruelty, because he knew that Jason would not dare. What's more important is the arrival of Elder Kevlin, so Paltero believes that nothing will happen to him. Elder Kevlin is an 8th level high-level Emperor Spiritualist, and he is also an 8th level low-level one. The Elixir Emperor. Jason, don't kill him. Elder Sevlin's face was full of advice. Jason, if you and this Paltero are really determined to fight to the death, the Alchemist Tower also has rules. When 2 players can only save one, as long as both parties agree and with the approval of the elders, both parties can be allowed to have a spiritual battle. In a medicine duel, the winner will be able to decide the life and death of the loser. Jason, I now approve that you and Paltero will hold a magic medicine duel in 3 years. What do you think? Above the ring, Sevlin looking at Jason calmly, the admonition was very obvious. He was unwilling for such a genius to make such a big mistake. Paltero, do you agree to my proposal? I agree. Paltero yelled. He is a 7th level intermediate elixir master. 3 years later, with his talent, all there is a chance to become a 7th level high-level elixir master. On the contrary, Jason, who was promoted to the 7th level low-level elixir master not long ago, wants to break through from the 6th level high-level elixir master to the 7th level low-level elixir master. No matter how amazingly gifted the elixir master is, he will not become successful overnight and requires a certain amount of accumulation. The reason why he was so crazy about Jason killing him before was not that he really wanted to die, but that he was messing with Jason's thinking and making him hesitate. He wanted to live, very much, Paltrow. For a moment, everyone focused their attention on Jason Yu again. The elixir showdown 3 years later is actually unfair to this young man who was promoted to the 7th level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master not long ago. Will he accept it? However, in the audience, Leonardo and others who knew Jason's accomplishments in elixirs breathed a sigh of relief, because they knew that, let alone 3 years later, right now, Jason would be competing in the elixir duel. You can defeat this Paltero completely. Feeling the gazes of everyone in the sky, the corners of Jason's mouth curled up slightly. I disagree. A voice sounded in everyone's ears, surprising everyone. Is this Jason really going to ignore the rules of the Alchemist Tower and go against the Alchemist Tower? Doesn't he know that confronting the Alchemist Tower will lead to death? Everyone looked at Jason, not even daring to take a breath. Above the ring, Jason looked around at the crowd and said calmly, I don't agree, because he doesn't teach. What's more, 3 years is too long and I can't wait. If I really want to spare this Parter Luo, it's not impossible. 3 days, I'll give him 3 days to recover. After 3 days, I will have a spiritual medicine duel with this Paltrow, and the winner will determine the life and death of the loser. In the sky, Jason stood proudly. His voice was not loud, but it was like a thunderous explosion, which shocked everyone. 3 days? Is this Jason seeking death? This was the first thought that came to everyone's mind. I recommend a book to everyone. War God Yang Jian travels to another world. The god of war Yang Jian was reborn in a foreign world in the west. A very magical potion? Why are you playing second fiddle? Not as good as my worst elixir, a very awesome holy magister? You are so ignorant. I want you to see what magic is. What? Is this a very powerful dragon? Yang Jian stepped on the black dragon's neck and said with disdain, Hey, 4-legged snake with wings. Hand over all your shiny crap to me. As soon as Jason said these words, the entire arena fell into silence again. Everyone looked at Jason in confusion, with dull expressions. 3 days, is Jason talking about 3 days? Was there any mistake? In these days, Jason's reputation has spread throughout the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. At least half of the 10 people know about him. When Jojo joined the Spirit Medicine Master Tower more than a month ago, this Jason he is a 6th level Senior Spiritual Master and a 6th level Senior Elixir Master. Now, although this Jason has undergone amazing changes in just 1 month, and has been promoted to the 7th level Intermediate Imperial Spirit Master, Spiritual Medicine and Spiritual Mechanics are completely 2 systems. The Spiritual Master has been promoted to the 7th level Intermediate Imperial Spirit Master. Master does not mean that the Elixir Master has also been promoted to the 7th level of Intermediate Elixir Master. But what about Paltrow? That was the old core disciple of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, an out-and-out 7th level Intermediate Spiritual Medicine Master. Originally, Elder Coughlin gave Jason and Paltrow 3 years, and everyone already felt that Jason suffered a great loss. But now that Jason himself said 3 days, everyone almost thought he was crazy. Not only were the spectators around the ring surprised, but behind Coughlin, Benjamin and Watt, who knew Jason very well, also looked at Jason in confusion. On the way to Lingdo City, they all admired Jason's attainments in elixir science, but admiration was due to the fact that Jason, who was a 6th level Senior Elixir Master at that time, was only in the theory of elixir science. Incomparably powerful, in terms of actually preparing elixirs, he is only a 6th level Advanced Elixir Master. They also don't think that a person who was a 6th level Senior Elixir Master a month ago will change much a month later. Spiritual medicine is a subject that requires great practice. Mastering any bottle of spiritual potion requires long-term study and practice, rather than simple theoretical knowledge. It's like a professor of nuclear physics at a university. If you ask him to talk about academic things, he will definitely be eloquent. But if you ask him to build a nuclear bomb by himself, he may not be as good as an ordinary engineer in some military nuclear institutions. Okay, I promise you. When everyone was horrified, Paltrow laughed crazily. He looked at Jason viciously. 3 days, haha, boy, if you want to die yourself, I will make your death ugly when the time comes. Get out of here. Jason threw Paltrow out of his hand. Under the pressure of Jason's remaining spiritual power, Paltrow struggled desperately, but it had no effect at all. He slammed his head into the ring on the ground again. After getting up from the rubble, Paltrow almost went crazy. Joe wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Jason. Why don't you get out? Wasn't kneeling enough before? If that's the case, I can satisfy your small request. Paltrow trembled all over, glanced at Jason viciously, and was seriously injured. His ruined body, in the eyes of countless spectators, left the challenge center in disgrace. Keep your dog head, I will take it off in 3 days. Jason's rumbling voice rang out in the world. Paltrow suddenly froze, and then fled away from here. Elder Kevlin, if you want to become a core disciple of the Elixir Master Tower, you must be a 7th-level low-level Elixir Master. In 3 days, I hope that the Elixir Master Tower can also accept the assessment of my core disciples. Jason said to Kevlin. The elder spoke calmly. Okay, 3 days later, I will personally preside over this life and death showdown, and I will also test your qualifications as a core disciple. Kevlin took a deep look at Jason and spoke solemnly. Jason nodded and did not linger any longer. He glanced at Rongxing and the others, swayed slightly, and disappeared into the sky in a flash. Okay, let's all disperse. Elder Sevlin said calmly and left the place. For a time, there was only roaring discussion in the entire arena. Many people were still deeply immersed in the shock of the previous battle between Jason and Paltrow, and could not recall it for a long time. Let's go back, too. In the audience, Rongxing and others shouted excitedly, and a group of people immediately left their seats and walked towards the door of the challenge center. Wherever they went, all the disciples in the Elixir City moved out of the way and looked at Rongxing and the others with incomparable awe. This is a group of real evil stars. After this battle, no disciple in the entire Elixir City would dare to offend them. Along the way, the Rongxing group saw more than 20 winners of the Continental Elite competition who had joined them in the Medicine Master Tower. They were standing at the entrance of the passage, looking at them with shameful faces, as if they wanted to say what? Humph, a bunch of cowards. Rongxing's face was livid, and he didn't give the other party a chance to speak. He snorted coldly and walked out of the passage. Leonardo and others also followed, looking at the more than 20 people with disdain. Leave directly. The more than 20 disciples who had chosen to break away from Jason's group due to Paltrow's power were biting their lips and lowering their heads at the moment, but their hearts were filled with endless regret. In the audience, countless disciples watched this scene. Everyone who knew what happened between them sighed for the more than 20 people, and looked at this group of people with extremely complicated eyes, which were full of a look of pity. These more than 20 newcomers originally had the opportunity to enjoy endless prestige in the Elixir City and live a life without anyone bullying them. However, such an opportunity was abruptly abandoned by them. It was really sad. I told you not to break away from the group at first, but now it's better feeling the pressure-filled eyes around him, someone complained. I didn't expect Jason's strength to be so strong. If we still fight with if they were together, then many people looked forward to it and felt extremely regretful. Okay, no need to say it. Someone shouted in a low voice. Alas! The sighs of endless resentment came. They are all geniuses. Now after seeing Jason's strength, they naturally understand in their hearts what a wrong choice they made a few days ago. However, no matter what they think in their hearts, what a regret, but it is impossible to go back to the past. Everyone will bear responsibility for his decision. A wrong choice will lead to regrets for life. There are a lot of discussions in the entire Elixir City, conveying the message of today's event after the Great Battle, and Jason's duel with Paltero's elixir. 3 days later, Jason returned to his villa at this moment and started practicing with his eyes closed. Today's battle established Jason's authority and made him Jason had a lot of insights. Not to mention anything else, just to advance him from the 7th level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master to the 7th level Intermediate Imperial Spiritual Master, he needed to absorb a lot, and Paltron's Golden Tiger Devouring Sun, the unique composition of rules and secrets contained in the fist, also greatly interested Jason. Jason's practice this time made him completely immersed in it and became mesmerized. He needs to absorb everything in this battle, integrate it, completely make it his own, and lay a solid foundation. After Rongsheng and others returned, they knew Jason was in his villa and did not disturb him. Instead, they practiced in their rooms. Jason's brave appearance today made their blood boil, and at the same time, they were greatly stimulated. I think back then, although Jason was strong, he was not much stronger than them. After all, everyone was on the same starting line. But now, in a short period of time, Jason has far surpassed them, which made them feel uncomfortable. The powerlessness and excitement. For a time, everyone was immersed in hard work and fell into crazy realizations. Although they knew that now with Jason's reputation, their group of newcomers would no longer be bullied, but as the winners of the mainland elite competition, or, they, the mainland geniuses, are still unwilling to live in Jason's shadow forever. In this way, the villas of Jason and Rongsheng remained silent, but at noon the next day, boom! An astonishing wave of spiritual power rose up in the villa where Rongsheng was located, alarming everyone nearby. Haha, I have finally been promoted to the 7th level of low-level Emperor Spirit Master, haha. Under the endless pressure, Kiroz's laughter came from the terrifying spiritual power. As early as more than 2 years ago, in Chi'er province, Kiroz, who entered the secret realm of the spirit pool with Jason, was promoted to the 6th level of Senior Spiritual Master under the effect of the Blood Abyss spirit pool, but he was always stuck. He has reached the level of the 6th level Senior Spiritual Master. Now, under the influence of the 6 bottles of Imperial Spiritual Elixir prepared by Jason 2 days ago, coupled with the insights from today's battle, he has finally advanced to the 7th level. A low-level Imperial Spiritual Master. However, before Kiroz could reach the 7th level of the low-level Imperial Spiritual Master, the spiritual aura had completely dissipated, and there was only one boom. Boom! 2 more amazing spiritual auras came from the villa of Melting Saint. It was heard that 2 terrifying spiritual power fluctuations fell from the sky almost at the same time, and endless spiritual power exploded. Countless holy light spiritual power elements and transparent spiritual power elements seemed to form 2 terrifying spiritual powers. Storm. Astonishing 2 streams of spiritual power poured into the villa of Rongsheng crazily. After taking the Imperial Spiritual Potion prepared by Jason, Leonardo, and Sophia, who were already at the peak of the 7th level Intermediate Imperial Spiritual Master and were about to break through, were heartbroken after watching the battle between Jason and Paltrow yesterday. After a lot of hard training, coupled with the spiritual impact of Kiroz's advancement, the 2 of them were actually advanced to the 7th level of the Imperial Spiritual Master at the same time. Terrifying spiritual power descended, and 2 astonishing auras rose from the villa where Melting Saint was located, alarming countless disciples who were paying attention to Jason and the newcomers. Leonardo and Sophia unbridledly exuded their amazing power, like butterflies emerging from their cocoons, glowing with amazing new life after being seriously injured. All the disciples in the Elixir City who were paying attention here were shocked. Feeling these 2 amazing spiritual powers, they also understood in their hearts that even with the existence of Jason, ordinary disciples like them would not be able to bully this group of terrifying newcomers. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The day of the elixir showdown between Jason and Paltrow, which was anticipated by countless people, finally arrived. There was no publicity or announcement. The elixir city, which had been extremely silent and always flowed like warm water, suddenly started to boil on this day. Countless disciples of the elixir city who had been cultivating silently in the past, all swarmed towards the elixir showdown on the second floor of the Elixir Master Tower Trading Center in the early morning of this day. In an instant, the duel room on the second floor of the Elixir Master Tower Trading Center, which could accommodate tens of thousands of people without being too crowded, was surrounded by countless disciples. There were also a large number of disciples wandering outside and unable to enter. This unprecedented grand occasion shocked the staff on the second floor of the Elixir Tower and hurriedly reported to the upper level of the Elixir Tower. In fact, given the magnificence and size of the Elixir Master Tower, the second floor is extremely wide, and there is no pressure to accommodate tens of thousands of people. However, this second floor is the Elixir Duel Room. When designing, it was designed to be like the independent duel room. The largest one can only accommodate 1,000 people at most. If so many disciples enter at once, they will naturally be crowded in some corridors and aisles. In view of this situation, the top management of the Elixir Tower quickly issued instructions that today's Elixir Showdown will be held on the largest arena in the Challenge Center, and all players can go to the auditorium of the Challenge Center to watch. Hola! As soon as the news came out, all the disciples withdrew from the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, and then rushed towards the center of the challenge crazily. The overwhelming number of Spiritual Pharmacist Tower disciples swarmed towards the Challenge Center arena like locusts. A large number of 7th-level Imperial Spiritual Masters passed through the sky, and various spiritual powers shone. Such an unprecedented and grand scene made everyone feel excited. Stunning. In the Elixir City, there are countless duels and battles every day, but the duel between Jason and Paltrow was too shocking, enough to attract everyone's attention. No matter how famous Jason is, it is just a cloud. The most important thing is it is core disciple Paltrow. In the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, any disciple or position is just an ordinary existence. Only the core disciples are the real people. They have the opportunity to inherit the heritage of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower and hope to stand proudly at the top of the entire continent in the future. Other disciples, even senior disciples with the status of Spiritual Medicine Master, are just ordinary people and are passers-by in the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. Strictly speaking, the Guardians are only the executors of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. In terms of status, the Guardians cannot be compared with the core. Compared with disciples. Under normal circumstances, the core disciples are practicing hard in the depths of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, which is inaccessible to ordinary disciples. They are a kind of aloof existence, which is why so many people pay attention to them. In addition to the battle between Jason and Paltrow a few days ago, Jason used the power of the 7th-level Intermediate Emperor Spiritual Master to defeat Paltrow, the 8th-level Low-level Emperor Spiritual Master, in one fell swoop. Such a shocking confrontation, if it would be strange to say that it is not attractive. Soon, in the entire auditorium around the ring, although no one knew when the duel would start, they were all sitting there in a very civilized manner, discussing with each other. As time went by, more and more people gathered around the arena, and the roaring noises went straight into the sky, turning into a huge sound wave that spread out like ripples, making the entire Elixir City audible. The noise here. Almost all the disciples in the entire Elixir City gathered here. The arena that could accommodate tens of thousands of people was crowded. Even in the aisles, there were some disciples standing. However, on the seats closest to the arena, there are some empty seats, which are the positions of people inside the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. At least those who are guardians can sit in this position. Wow! At this moment, from the entrance of the ring, a large group of figures finally appeared slowly, and their appearance quickly caused a commotion in the audience of the ring. It's Paltrow and the others. One of the contestants in this duel. Elixir can determine life or death. How long have we not seen such a thing? How long? I have been joining the spiritual medicine master tower for nearly 10 years and I have never seen one. Many people were talking loudly and were extremely excited. The elixir determines life and death. It is the only rule in the elixir master's tower that can determine life and death between disciples. Only when the hatred between two disciples is so great that it is irreversible, will they not die? Only when there is no end to the situation will the elixir of life and death be established. In fact, the disciples in the elixir master tower come from all over the mainland, and there are many who have feuds. In addition, the elixir master tower encourages plundering among the disciples, and the mutual hatred between them. There is more hatred, but there are very few people who really want to fight to the death and need the elixir of life and death. Because the elixir of life and death is a duel that both parties must agree to. One party proposes it, and the other party agrees, and then after it will take effect only with the approval of the elders, and it can only happen between elixir masters. This rule is destined that few people will choose this. Think about it, those who usually make this request are often those who are knowledgeable about their own elixirs. Those who are confident will only propose it if they can win, but there are no fools in this world. How can the other party agree to it when they know they are losing? They can directly refuse unilaterally. Therefore, this provision has been established since, rarely used. This is also one of the important reasons for attracting so many disciples. In the eyes of all the audience, Paltero sat in the auditorium in front of the ring with a cold face, his face full of arrogance. Carefully, waiting for Jason to appear. Although Paltero was severely humiliated by Jason a few days ago, no one in the audience dared to laugh at him, whether it was his identity as a core disciple or a 7th-level intermediate. The level of the elixir master is destined to make him a crouching tiger even if he falls. He didn't let him wait long, and the entire auditorium was boiling again. A group of people also appeared at the entrance of the ring. Their appearance caused the entire auditorium to burst into thunderous roars. Look, this is Jason, that's him? Looks very young. Everyone was talking and shouting. Compared to Paltrow, Jason's appearance made all the audience excited. Why? Because Jason is a newcomer and the senior disciple an ordinary identity. In the Elixir City, almost all the disciples are ordinary disciples. For them, the core disciples are aloof existences. They are always deep in the Elixir Master Tower and enjoy luxurious treatment. Compared to Paltrow, it is said that Jason gave ordinary disciples like them a sense of belonging. Moreover, the cause of the incident also caused the power of public opinion to tilt towards Jason. In everyone's opinion, the cause of today's incident was that a group of new people had just joined the Elixir Master. Ta was bullied by Reddies and the gang of bullies, but he didn't expect that this group of newcomers was so strong that they actually defeated Reddies and the others. Next, Reddies was unconvinced, and Paltrow he came forward, suppressed them with his own identity, relied on the strong to bully the weak, and severely humiliated the newcomers. Normally, the matter should have ended here, another illusion of an old man bullying a newcomer. But they didn't expect that Jason's return would change the whole incident. Jason's domineering sweep overwhelmed the core disciple Paltero, setting the stage for today's Elixir showdown. Everywhere, people sympathize with the weak and admire the strong, and Jason is admired by everyone regardless of his status as a newcomer or his strong strength. Jason and his group came to the front of the ring and sat down in the audience. Jason looked around, then closed his eyes to rest. It has to be said that the efficiency of the Elixir Master Tower is still very high. The rocks were broken due to the battle 3 days ago, and the extremely messy arena was restored to its original state after 3 days of repairs. Without letting the two of them wait any longer, a group of people flew over from a distance from the Spiritual Medicine Master's Tower, and then stood still on the ring. The leader was an old man with a gray beard, who was none other than Elder Kevlin, and behind him next to him, there were 2 middle-aged men standing, and a faint coercion emanated from them, especially the black-faced man on the left side of Coughlin, whose face was ferocious and calm, making people look up. His heart trembled involuntarily. Behind the three of them, there were more than a dozen old and middle-aged people with different appearances. Judging from the fluctuations of spiritual power emanating from their bodies, they were all protectors of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. As soon as these people arrived, the entire auditorium instantly became quiet. "Both of you, please come up." Kevlin's eyes glanced at Jason and Paltrow, and he said directly. Paltrow walked up the steps of the ring, while Jason with a swish, he rushed directly onto the ring, showing his domineering attitude. At this moment, Jason felt the eyes of the black-faced man fell on him. Boom! Jason only felt that the other party's eyes were as deep as the sea, and his mind was suddenly shaken. An inexplicable pressure escaped from the other party and enveloped him. This pressure was so terrifying that it actually made the already 7 Jason, an intermediate-level Imperial Spiritual Master, felt like an ant in the ice and snow, with no will to resist at all. Saint-level powerhouse. Jason's heart was slightly shaken, but his face did not change color at all. He raised his head and stared at the other person calmly, without any hint of cowardice. An inexplicable domineering force emerged from Jason's body, meeting the opponent's gaze and intertwining in the air, without even an inch of retreat. The black-faced man looked at Jason deeply, with a look of resignation in his eyes. "Jason, Paltrow, this is Cornelius, the master of the Law Enforcement Hall of our Spirit Medicine Master Tower. The Law Enforcement Hall governs all the rules of our Spirit Medicine Master Tower. Anyone who violates the rules will be subject to law enforcement by the Law Enforcement Hall." Originally, as the master of the Law Enforcement Hall, Cornelius, a 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master, generally does not appear. Law enforcement is carried out by the guardians of the Law Enforcement Hall. However, today's duel is related to our elixir masters. The life and death of a core disciple of the tower, therefore, he will supervise the duel between the two of you. Sevlin introduced this black-faced man to Jason and Paltrow. "The Lord of the Law Enforcement Hall? A 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master?" After hearing Coughlin's introduction, Jason was shocked. The other party was indeed a 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master as he had guessed. With such strength, he was much stronger than Elder Coughlin. He is truly the pinnacle figure on the continent, the overlord of one side. "Jason, and this one is Alphonsus, the master of our Elixir Master Tower Assessment Hall. You apply to become a core disciple. As long as you can prepare 7th-level Imperial elixirs, you can prove that you are a 7th-level elixir master. After his assessment of his strength, he is the one who can truly become the core disciple of our Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, After introducing the black-faced man, Coughlin introduced the middle-aged man on the right to Jason. Jason looking over, Alphonsus was a middle-aged man with long brown hair. His face was extremely calm. While Jason was looking at him, he was also looking at Jason curiously, wanting to see this. What kind of character is the young man who caused a commotion in the Elixir City? After introducing the two people, Elder Sevlin waved his hand, and two people from the team of guardians behind him immediately walked out and came to both sides of the ring. They each waved their hands. Wow! 2 huge experimental tables suddenly appeared on both sides of the ring. At the same time, some instruments and other things needed to prepare elixirs all appeared on the tables. Dear disciples of the Spiritual Medicine Master Pagoda, today is the day when a senior disciple of our Spiritual Medicine Master Pagoda and a core disciple resolve their personal grievances. This is not a happy event, but when there is a grudge, there is a grudge, and when there is a grudge, there is revenge, and our Spiritual Medicine Master Pagoda is very particular about it. 2 words are fair. Elder Coughlin's face remained unchanged, and his voice reached the ears of every disciple. Today both sides agreed to use elixirs to decide their life and death in a duel, but I hope that such a thing will be the best in the future. You better not continue to show up at my elixir tower, Jason, Paltrow, are you two ready? Get ready, Elder Coughlin. Both of them said in unison. Well, Cornelius and Alphonsus, the two palace masters, please witness today's duel. You're welcome, Elder Coughlin. In that case, let's get started. Kevlin flashed his body and flew to the first row of the auditorium to sit down. Cornelius and Alphonsus, as well as more than a dozen guardians behind the three, also followed the three, sat down in the audience. Only Jason and Paltrow were left in the ring. You brat, no matter what you rely on, I will tell you with facts, which one of us is the real one? The elixir. Paltrow looked at Jason and sneered, his eyes full of resentment, but don't worry, I won't kill you immediately after I win today. I will make you my dog, and finally make you suffer all kinds of humiliation. Die. Jason smiled lightly, I'm really sorry that you don't even have the qualifications to be my dog. Paltrow gritted his teeth, but saw Jason turn and leave directly, heading towards his experiment table. I'll let you have fun first, and I will make your life worse than death. Paltrow said sadly in his heart, and came to his experiment table. The two of them stood still, and with a wave of their hands, a large piece of material appeared in front of them. This elixir duel is not exactly the same as the solution duel between Jason and Reddy's. The solution duel uses exactly the same solution of the same level that was improved by the Elixir Master Tower. This elixir duel is everyone takes out their own materials, instruments, etc. to prepare their own elixir, and finally the outcome of the two is determined based on the level of the elixir prepared. The solution duel only tests the elixir master's one-sided ability, while the elixir duel tests everyone's comprehensive attainments in elixir science, which is the most realistic. After taking out the materials, Paltrow waved again, and a set of preparation vessels with a blue halo appeared on the experimental table, exuding a charming halo under the sunlight. This is a blue crystal vessel. An elixir master in the audience said with envy, this Paltrow is indeed a core disciple, and he actually owns a blue crystal vessel. There was a slight noise in the audience. Paltrow smiled proudly at Jason, and all the audience followed his gaze and looked at Jason. Jason looked calm, waved his left hand, and made a set. The vessel with a purple halo suddenly appeared in front of everyone, exuding a magnificent light in the sun. Oh my God, this is an amethyst vessel. Did I see it wrong? He is a newcomer. He actually owns an amethyst vessel? What is this Jason's background in the outside world? The audience, who were previously shocked when Paltrow took out a blue crystal vessel, suddenly widened their eyes and were stunned. Elder Sevlin and others also had slight surprises on their faces after seeing the amethyst vessel that Jason took out. On the ring, Paltrow's face couldn't help but darken. He no longer looked at Jason, but focused all his attention on the materials in front of him. In everyone's eyes, with a wave of his right hand, several bottles of brilliant elixirs suddenly appeared on the experimental table. Countless rays of light flow around these bottles of spiritual potions, full of magnificence. This is in the entire arena audience. Everyone's eyes were once again attracted to Paltrow, and there was a hint of doubt in their eyes. In the eyes of all the spectators, Paltrow opened the corks of these bottles of elixir, and the strong spiritual power fluctuations dispersed in the air. In full view of the audience, Paltrow quickly picked up the first one. Potion bottle, and then poured the red liquid in the potion bottle at once. He then threw the finished elixir bottle on the table, then picked up the second elixir bottle containing purple liquid and poured it into his mouth again, followed by the third elixir bottle, a total of 5 bottles of elixir. The potion was poured in by Paltrow in an instant. In the middle, an inexplicable aura emerged from Paltrow's body, shocking all the audience. This is auxiliary potion, the first red bottle is a spiritual awareness enhancement potion. There is also a spiritual element induction potion. The purple bottle is an element control potion. This Paltrow is already a 7th level intermediate elixir master. In this way, he is even more abnormal. Got it. Many viewers exclaimed, recognizing the elixirs that Paltrow took. These elixirs are auxiliary elixirs that can improve the elixir master's ability to prepare elixirs. The element-sensing elixirs among them can make the elixirs. When the pharmacist prepares the medicine, he is more sensitive to the elements in the potion bottle, and the element control medicine allows the elixir to control the elements more powerfully when preparing the medicine. But this is not cheating, just like a spiritual master is allowed to take spiritual potions during a duel. It is an auxiliary method and is allowed to be used in a duel. However, unlike spiritual masters can easily improve their level after taking certain powerful spiritual potions, while these auxiliary potions taken by spiritual pharmacists can only improve the spiritual pharmacist's abilities in certain aspects. It cannot directly improve the opponent's level, but it can also greatly improve the elixir master's ability. Haha. On the stage, feeling his body that seemed to have reached its peak, Paltero couldn't help laughing. The worries in his heart disappeared a lot at this moment. He had no reason not to worry. You must know that today's elixir showdown was brought up by Jason 3 days ago, not by Paltero. After he came out of seclusion, he was promoted to the 7th level intermediate elixir master. Almost everyone in the entire elixir city knew about it. Paltero didn't believe that Jason didn't know, but even under such circumstances, Jason still proposed in order to compare the elixir with him. Paltero had to worry. In the Alchemist Tower, no one is a fool. If you regard others as idiots, then it is very likely that you will be the idiot in the end. Since Jason made this suggestion, it means that he has great influence. Confidence, believing that he will defeat himself in today's duel. Today's elixir showdown will determine the fate of both parties, and under the supervision of the Elixir Master Tower, there is no possibility of cheating. Once the outcome comes out, there is no way to resist. During the past 3 days, Paltero thought about many possibilities regarding Jason's elixir duel. However, no matter how hard he thought about it, he could not figure out what Jason, who had just been promoted to the 7th level Imperial Spiritual Master for less than a month, would be like. Why are you so confident that you dare to bet on the preparation of spiritual elixirs with yourself, a true master of elixirs? Therefore, during these 3 days, he was seriously injured and only cured his body. What he cared most about was how to improve his elixir knowledge. In the end, he spent all his points to buy these items that could improve his elixir knowledge. At the same time, he purchased a large amount of materials for crazy experiments. A smile appeared on the corner of Paltero's mouth. At this moment, Paltero was full of confidence in his victory today. Boom! The terrifying and powerful 8th level spiritual consciousness suddenly escaped from Paltero's body, covering the large piece of elixir material in front of him. After detailed analysis and perception, the powerful spiritual consciousness spread throughout the whole body. The laboratory table was full of domineering atmosphere. With the help of the spiritual consciousness enhancement potion, the spiritual consciousness, which was originally the 8th level low-level spiritual consciousness, has reached the 8th level intermediate level at this moment. He is constantly analyzing the elixir materials on the experimental table. At this moment, all the elixir materials all the elixir elements contained in it were quickly reflected in his mind, and they were extremely clear, without any mistakes. Feeling the terrifying aura exuding from Paltero's body, everyone's expressions in the audience suddenly changed. This Paltero is so scheming.